Здравейте, вие сте със Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов. Подкастът, който вече 8 години ви разказва истории, които вдъхновяват. Днешният ми гост е доктор Менис Юсри. Той е водещ терапевт, фасилитатор и супервизьор на екипа на фондация Същност. Преди да преминем към нашия разговор, искам да ви разкажа една много кратка история. Преди точно 8 години Неда ми препоръча да се запиша на един семинар на фондация Същност към същността. Нямах никаква идея какво му очаква в тези дни, но както всички вие знаете и сте чували многократно в подкаста, обичам предизвикателствата и аз се записах. Там преживях нещо, което не може да бъде описано с думи и нещо, за което не може да се говори извън самия семинар. Нещо, което е различно за всеки, който преминава през този процес. В един от дните зададах въпрос на доктор Юсри, на Менис, както всички, които преминават през обученията го адресират. Когато гледам хората в очите, не мога да не им се доверя. И го питах, наивен ли съм? Не си спомням какво ми отговори той, но в последствие, в паузата след това упражнение, бях наобиколен от 4 души. Албена, Юли, Миро и Стилян. Те станаха мои приятели и хора, които ми помогнаха с личния си пример да започна Свръхчовекът 2 месеца по-късно. Сега тук има над 400 епизода. В това прекрасно студио сме. Имам екип от над 5 човека. И буквално превърнах това, за което мечтая, в мой проект и в мое занимание. Подготвяйки се за интервюто, чух един цитат от него. Постоянството е изкуството на успеха. Persistence is the art of success. За мен е удоволствие да имам за събеседник именно него днес, като епизодът ни ще бъде изцяло на английски, а за тези от вас, които езикът е непознат, разбира се, ще подготвим и субтитри. Преди да преминем към него обаче, искам да благодаря на партньорите на подкаста, благодарение на които и този епизод достига до вас. Правило ли ви е впечатление колко по-добре чувате Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов в последната 1 година? Голяма част от това се дължи на невероятните Децибел. Децибел е българска компания, която произвежда шумоизолационни и акустични материали. Един от съоснователите на компанията е Диана. Тя ми гостува в 329 епизод, от който може да разберете повече за тях. Като слушатели на Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов, имате възможността да се възползвате от специалната отстъпка и да оборудвате своя дом, офис или студио. Възползвайте се! Преминаването на Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов към видео нямаше да бъде възможно без подкрепата на Dynaphos. Затова с Монката искрено ги препоръчваме като място, на което можеш да намериш продукти и решения за фото, видео, бродкаст и кинооборудване, както за любители, така и за професионалисти. От създаването си през 2003 година екипът на Dynaphos има една основна ценност – да работи за клиентите и за общността. В техния шоурум или по телефона ще получиш качествена консултация за това как лесно и изгодно да оборудваш твоето студио. Разбери повече на dinaphos.BG. Използвай промокод SuperHuman21, за да получиш свръхчовешка отстъпка. Dr. Menis Yousry, Menis, thank you so much for taking your time. It's a huge part of your day, 3 hours, to spend here with me in the studio of a podcast that started with an iPad 8 years ago, few months following the към същността, the first level of the Essence seminar.
It is a great pleasure for me to be here, and thank you for the invitation. And I hope we can explore a few things that will help everybody and support our, let's say, evolution and where we are going in our lives.
I'm absolutely certain that we will. And as I love saying, when people are listening to the podcast, they are taking different things. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah.
So they get inspired by different sayings, different quotes, different situations.
Yes, true. Yes.
And this is, for me, the closest thing about a person sharing how his life developed.
Yes.
And what did he learn through this. And it's the most authentic content that I can find online, but this is my way of doing it. Would you please say with a couple of words what are you doing at the moment, what your position and what your main work is related to, so people can get a glimpse of who you are and what you do at the moment?
Yes. In one way, my work is very difficult to describe because I started learning my work in a very conventional way, like a psychologist and therapist, and I went through all the normal challenge and normal, let's say, curriculum of how people learn these kind of things. But then I started to divert a little bit, and I started to let go of everything I was learning before, because I start to realize that any method we use to do work with people is limited. So to make it clear, I do these big courses, seminars, the therapeutic personal development, if you like. But I think the name I put on it will still limit it. And the time we live in now is very critical time. A lot of people are getting psychologically aware, and a lot of knowledge available all over the world. I think as we're talking now, in your pocket there's a phone. You can access anything you want, including any psychological, any information about the brain, development, everything. It's amazing time. But what I have realized, this is very related to what you asked me, that we are learning so much, but actually I think we're going backward a little bit, because we have stopped our connections. We stopped our emotions, our feelings. The culture we live in has become orientated towards, I want to become something. I want to be something. I want to achieve something. And the knowledge that's available to us has made it easier for us to go that direction. So when you ask me about what I do, I want to slow that process and ask people to go into the being more than becoming. Yes. And I had a challenge because the work I do was like many people do. It started to change. And people come to the courses and they're waiting for me to tell them what to do to be better. And many people even come in to learn. And so I don't want to fall in the same trap that where I started. So in some way, the work I do is extremely unique, but in some way it can be very difficult for people, especially people who are very intellectuals and in desperation to learn something, to be something. So when I start all my seminars, I do this in the beginning to calm these people down a bit, so they can feel their brain is fed with something that they used to. And then I work into more experiential work, because really our life is an experience. It's not information. But information has taken us over. So the work is challenging for people and for me also, because I will never continue something I have learned. Anything you learn is very limited. Knowledge is limited. And people who will ask me, but why knowledge is limited? It's very simple. Knowledge is limited because you can always add to it. It will never stop. But there's another dimension of us that we need. And I was writing a book, and in the middle of the book I had a realization about artificial intelligence. And I actually think that we will become artificial intelligence ourselves. Everybody's afraid that artificial intelligence will take over the world. We are the artificial intelligence. As we progress, we're going to lose more and more and become so clear, efficient, and amazing, but we're going to lose our connection. In fact, I was in Japan a few weeks ago, and I expected, this is a very advanced country, very modern, everything is good, and the people are amazing, but I had the biggest shock in my life. I actually saw everything working perfectly, but the people is not like people anymore. They are following the rules and the system, and it's like everybody walking behind like a robot a little bit. And they are very good, very nice. If you ask something, they'll give it to you. But behind their eyes, there is not really human beings left. And I'm not surprised they have become one of the most powerful, technological, great country in the world. And I saw how we're all heading, actually. And it was quite shocking to me. And when you enter a new country, a new place, you have fresh eyes. And they live in there, like deep into it, they cannot see it anymore. And this is what's going to happen to us also. If somebody comes from outside, can see differently than us. So coming back to tell me what I do, what I do is changes all the time. It's never the same. And I am in a moment looking carefully at every one of us since birth until now, until the age you reach, is been painting a painting about our life. I use it like a metaphor. The painting I have about my life has been a masterpiece of illusion. A masterpiece made by our parents, our culture, our beliefs, our economy, our politics. Yes, and it's been passed on from one generation to the other. So we evolving into. I don't want to give a bad picture about our life, because I think our life is a great opportunity. It's fantastic, but we are caught onto something. It may not be real. So when I work with people in the courses, I never stick to one method or one way, because I will again emphasize something that's limited. So even in this conversation now, I'm explaining to my work. You can see you are in two places. One way you can hear I'm saying something. The other way it's very difficult to grasp. So the work has been a journey, not only for the people, for me, to enter areas I don't know about. And what people see and gain from the seminars is quite transforming. But some people don't know how it happens, which is amazing, really. It's what I really like to witness myself.
While you were describing this, I stumbled upon another realization. A couple of months after the seminar, I was doing a workshop on making a dream board, a vision board.
Yes.
And it was led by Neda's mother, Elena, another psychotherapist. And she asked me, what is the word that best describes 2016? And I said, awareness. So I believe that when I came out of the seminar, I realized that I'm slightly aware about some things and more aware for others. And this is like a never-ending staircase. I'm just raising my awareness, knowing a bit more, knowing more about what therapy is actually. And therapy is awareness in a way, because it's subjective, but it also you feel the difference, how you were treating your colleagues, your family members, or even your business.
Yes.
And what is your awareness now about your connections with them and all this? So if I need to describe what you're doing, you're trying to help people raise their awareness in particular fields.
Yes, but everything you say is very true and clear. The only challenge I have is I don't want to help people. I want them. This is one of the most difficult things I will tell you. I want them to come and help themselves. But you see, even what I'm saying is still there is some wanting there from me to do. This is how difficult it is. Because if I help people, I will need their approval, and I will need to feel good about myself. And my process is to be the help without helping anybody. And that's not very easy at all.
My very logical mind is trying to picture a scenario where this thing happens, and how can I describe it? But you cannot. You only experience is something that is thoughtful without the need.
Yes.
Like kids, like playing.
Yeah, you see, all these years I've been doing this work for 30 years. It took me a very long time to understand something. There's a question has always been in my mind. And the question is why I'm doing this. Again and again and again. A very difficult question.
I know why am I doing this for 8 years? I'm doing it for myself because I think I should. It's like my inner voice. It's my inner me.
Yes. And 90%, maybe 99% of everybody in the helping profession or help people, their ego is an operation. Not them. It's so difficult to be. It's like what Gandhi said once. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And part of me has a big ego also. And I can see it. I can see it when I'm on the stage helping people and I want the admiration. And that when I sense that, I'm not as effective as I want to be.
In the interview that I was using to get myself prepared, thank you Max Bakalayan and Tavex for making it possible. You said that ego gives you the courage to start, which can also mean that it will be used in positive ways.
Yes, exactly.
This energy, this burst.
If you don't have the ego, you're not going to start. But once you start, you have to say goodbye to it.
But so I'm currently in a situation where I ask myself, am I doing this podcast because I believe in it or because of ego? This is like me questioning myself.
This is the hardest question for everybody. At least if we ask in this question that we have some awareness. But there are people don't even have the awareness to ask that question. So this is a stage better than nothing, better than being blind. You know that people who help others are so naive because you cannot help anybody.
And probably this sentence continues with, if the person don't want help.
And the person who doesn't want help is the best one for us. Because we will help them. Why? Because we are attached to helping people. And we will hurt them also. You can take this a little bit to different context because we can get stuck here. Look at our family. People we live with. There are people in our family, for example, or friends, they're doing something that's not good for them. Can we just be there, or we spend all our life to make them better?
Yeah.
And this is even a better challenge because some of these people, if they're not better, will be affected.
Yeah, but right now, I'm a father.
Yeah.
When I joined Essence, Neda said, pick a problem and go to the seminar looking for the answer for it. And the problem that I picked back in 2016 was I have a very bad relationship with my father. I cannot communicate with him. And I came out of the seminar with the realization. Realization was he is the best father he can be, and I cannot change him. and I accepted him in a way. And I believe acceptance goes a long way into relationships. Is this like a valid way of raising your awareness or approaching a problem that's bothering you in life?
I think what you said is extremely valid, but how is it now with him?
It's great.
Good.
No, it's way better than before, but he has times that we are stuck back in what used to happen back in the days. But I had a realization probably 2 years ago when I realized that I'm his son and I need to behave like his son, not like his father. And started asking him things, asking things for me from him, to be in a place where he's the dad and he can provide. And this made everything easier.
I actually think you move in the right direction, but I want to add something about acceptance. The most, let's say, spiritual achievement, if we can use this one now, because I don't like the word achievement, is actually acceptance. But acceptance cannot be achieved by the mind.
Yeah.
I use a way to describe acceptance in a very difficult way, because I don't teach anything or tell people in a seminar anything that I have not experienced myself. I find it very difficult, actually. And you have to burn by your own fire to accept somebody. If that make any sense to you.
It makes sense. It's subconscious choice. It's subconsciously the way you treat people. We want to think it's logical, but it's not logical. It's subconscious.
Yeah, like for example, somebody will hurt you a lot, or parents, things happen. You will spend all your life struggling. One day you feel good, one day you feel bad, one day you accept, one day you're trying to tell them to change. Yes, and this is a fire. This fire has to burn you until you reach a point where whatever they do is okay. And how do you know reach this point? When you never talk about acceptance anymore. It dies. You don't even have to think that you have to accept. And this stage, it has to take its own course. It's like grieving for somebody died. When somebody die or somebody abandon you, you go through different stages. Angry, not believing it, blaming, loving, denial, and then something happens. They are there, but life is okay. I think this can never be taught, unfortunately. Yeah. But it can be faster a little bit once you work on yourself. Like when people come to the courses and do many things to remove distractions, they can actually can be a little shorter to arrive to these stages. I don't even like the word stages, but whatever evolvement for the person to go through in a life. But it is really, I know from what I have seen in my life, people will never be able to just let go that easily. And it is an illusion that you can say, I'm now okay about this. Because when you're okay, you will never say it again. It is like the same as freedom. And this is a very current situation. Everybody wants to be free. If you want to be free, you'll always be trapped. Because the true freedom is to do everything, whether you like it or not. To do what you like and do what you don't like, and there's no problem for it. Now, our definition of freedom in the West, that human rights. Now, I cannot do this. You can't control me. I'm free, and I can do this and that. Person who says that, they are never free, because they're trapped by their desire to be free. But if you're totally free, yes, whatever happens, okay, no problem. But this is like submission with power. Like, you understand? Submission is the best word. Like you compromise with power, not compromise with fear. This is what I saw in Japan. You see, they all doing everything from very deep fear, from something above, somebody above. Like one day I was in a temple and I saw everybody cleaning the temple, like almost with a toothbrush, everybody. And I saw the devotion and the commitment and power, but I could also see they cannot do anything else. Nobody can stand up and say, I'm not doing this. You see?
Peer pressure.
Yeah, this is where, you see, you must know something, that our parents and our culture wants to make us like everybody else. Yes. You can be like everybody else if you are very strong and free and by choice, not by force.
Okay, I think it's a great way to switch context a bit, because you were born in Egypt.
Yes.
And then moved to London in the West.
Yes.
This is, I believe, hearing the story about the first British person that fell from the sky.
Yes.
And you've met like a blonde person with blue eyes. Culturally, it's very different from where you grew to where you went. Would you please just describe with a couple of words your upbringing, and then why did you choose to go to England and particularly London, and what?
You see, unfortunately, where I come from used to be a great civilization, but now we are heading to live like in the Middle Ages because of religion, their religion there. Okay, I had an incident, and I was at university, because my generation lived through war since I was born until I left. I was in 3 wars. One of them was in Port Said when it was bombed. We were on holiday, and the second one was in Cairo. Even our homes, all our areas, been bombed and everything. But I am the generation of war, basically. Okay, but when I was at university once, they were having a debate about Israel and about Arabs and about the Palestinians. We're still in the same situation, as you know. Okay, that was almost 50 years ago. And then I stood up and I said something in front of people, and I said, if God came down and told us I made a mistake, there is no Israelis, there is no Palestinians, there is no Arabs, what are we going to do? I didn't even think about what I said. I didn't think. And everybody saw me like a mad person. Yeah. And then I realized this moment, I cannot be here. I cannot. Because I can see something, and if I continue with it, I think it's going to be very dangerous for me. And I need to be somewhere that I can say these things where people can actually at least perceive it. You see, I come from a very Christian background, and this is a very big Islamic culture. And we have lost respect for Islam. But the most extraordinary thing is, I learned to respect Islam in England, not in my country. Because we were like enemies. But living in England, everybody is allowed to say what they want. They disagree, but you can express what you want. And this is the first impact on my life. The second impact was the war came, another war, and of course I was supposed to be in a war, and it is not out. I never understood until I left many years later. I just had this intuition and feeling without any thinking that this war is total, complete waste of time. It's not I was afraid of the war. I found that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, really. We were traveling we were fighting for the Palestinians. The Palestinians were like 1,000 miles away from where we are. So we all going, an army, traveling 1,000 miles, trying to support people who are not doing anything about their lives. Yes? Why? Why are we doing this? I couldn't make it. If somebody attacked me in my house, I would, of course. Why would I do that? Like all the armies, like America is going to Vietnam or something. They're traveling thousands of them. Why? Okay, I just didn't make any sense. And I knew something later will be a problem because we fought for years in Egypt. Mm-hmm. In fact, in the first few weeks, we lost millions. But we made peace at the end. Yes? So this war was for nothing. And one thing I saw that shocked me the most, during this war, because my father was a pharmacist and we were in the medical profession. And one doctor came to visit my father and he was telling us that the casualties in the war was too much, that when people are injured, they had to amputate the arms and legs because they did not have any resource or time to fix. And a few days after the war, I saw so many people walk in the streets without an arm or leg, yes, for life. But then later, we had peace. So these people lost their arms and legs for nothing. It was a complete waste of time. And we're doing the same thing until now. But then I realized this war is in our mind. It is not out there. And if I relate this to my work, now this is my biggest shock. I don't think people fight an enemy at all. They fight in their parents, in other people. You see, our own trauma, what our parents did to us, or what we think they did to us, have built on a deep trauma, and we have to find an enemy to let it out. And then countries, Egypt was the first country in the world that made me realize that if you fight an enemy, you become very powerful. Everybody will know you. Now look at the map of the world today. Does anybody talk about Austria, Switzerland? Nobody. We talk about America, Russia. Why? Because they are fighting a war, and they are. A war is like a person. A country is like a person. The country who, in a state of war, becomes so powerful in front of the world. So each one of us is like the world. You see, and I start have these realizations when I was there, but I didn't know. If you had asked me then, I would not speak like this now, because I was not really able to reflect and be conscious about this thing I'm saying to you. And all this motivated me that I had to leave. There is no place for me there. And living in England has been for me, I would say it in a different way. The last hope of the world is England, actually, which is being destroyed at the moment. America used to be the last hope of the world, where everybody can be there and say what they want and feel safe. And this doesn't exist in our world, in the Middle East and places like this.
But just something to clarify, you said that you're coming from a Christian background.
Yes.
And then the Egyptian army was sent to fight on the side of the Palestinians.
Yes.
Against the people from Israel.
Yes. The situation is still now. Look, it's never been resolved.
Yeah. I don't think it can be resolved, actually. And people keep dying, and this is awful.
It will never resolve because they killed enough people from both sides.
Yeah.
And of course, we're not going to make this a political podcast, but something very simple I can tell you.
So you cannot quit on the sacrifice that you've already made.
Say again?
You cannot stop the war because you cannot quit on the sacrifice that you've already made for years and years.
Yeah, but there is a bigger picture than that, I think. Of course, this is it, yeah. But the bigger picture is everybody is split in the world between the Israelis and Palestinians, yes. They're looking at the picture in a wrong way. The problem is not Israelis and Palestinians. The Israelis are just as victims as the Palestinians. We put them there. And we the West, and we promised them a land. And you see, I don't want to go into politics, but something very important to the work I do. When the children are fighting, who's responsible? The parents. Okay? This war could be solved in one day because the parents are fighting for power. If you go into any relationship, there's always a power struggle between a couple. And in a family life, there's a power struggle. You were affected from your dad because of a power struggle. And you can judge your dad, but you don't know what he had to deal with in the family. And then we live through this situation with our parents, and then, as you know, we repeat it.
What do you think about this psychological thing in our minds that we need to choose sides? It's like this sense of belonging to a football team, a basketball team, a rugby team, a cricket team, or a nation, or all these like labels.
Oh, it has a very clear reason. Very clear. When humanity started, yes, people had to live in groups. Why?
To be safe.
And you will not survive without a group because animals will eat us. So we have to stick together. The thing that what started to go wrong is this. In order for you to feel safe, your group has to be better than another group. So your sense of survival is connected to your sense of belonging to a group. And once you belong to a group, you will fight for the group to the end because your survival is threatened by the group. This is exactly what I said at the university. If God came down and tell us, I made a mistake, there is no this and that, what we're going to do? We will panic because this has become in our brain. It's like in our DNA. There is actually no Palestinians. There is no Israelis. There is none of that. We are human beings. But we are now programmed biologically that I have to, you see, you are Bulgarian, yes? All your life, you'll defend Bulgaria to the end. If you go to any country in the world, there's anybody who's watching this, if you live in any country in the world, whatever they're going to do, you're going to tell them, in my country we do this, and we do that. You're always comparing to you, because this has been a programming for you. But actually, it doesn't exist.
It's illusion.
Illusion. Who made this map? I find it amazing. When I travel to different countries and cross the border, I look at the ground to see where is the map. There's no map. And then language came in, which is fascinating. I also had this awareness while I was traveling that every country speaks a different language to protect them from somebody else know what they're talking about. Like, this is ours, you see. Now, I couldn't understand why we have many languages, but now I know what it means. It will consolidate my separation, my belonging to my group, because you don't speak my language, you're outside. And if you learn the language of a country very well, you actually enter their culture. You start to sense their own...
I tend to say that I believe that speaking in another language, you're another person.
Yes.
I realized this while I was in the UK, living there.
Yes.
I've lived in St. Albans.
Yes.
And I think I'm myself. I have my values, but
Yes.
I'm a different person.
Yes. Yes. But if you speak another language for a very long time, you enter the culture. You enter because it is a reflection of their mind. It symbolizes how they are thinking and living. Yes, it's another way.
So, Egypt to Great Britain. Why Great Britain? Why not Malta, Greece, Italy, or wherever?
I think most people go to England because they speak English. And it's very easy.
But you didn't speak English.
Very little.
Yeah.
It was better than nothing. But,
Okay.
but I had traveled before to Europe. And I actually had to leave the country. I had to.
Because of the war.
Because of the war. And I had very little time. And it was at random. And the first place I can manage to go to was England. It was just coincidence. But as you know, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's meant to be. Because when I went to England, I actually made a lot of work there, and I made a huge contribution to England also, with a lot of people I worked with, and they had a huge amount of history there.
15 years as a supervisor in NHS.
Yes.
So you went to England. You were just on the verge of going to university, right?
No, I actually had finished university in Egypt.
So you had finished, what degree did you finish?
Art and design.
Art.
I was an artist for many years, yes. I actually had many careers. And one of them I was very, very good, big career.
But in the UK, you started studying again.
Yes.
Also.
When I worked as an artist for a while, and I was actually, I worked for the BBC, the television, and the newspapers, and I had a very strong career. But what I'm doing now has been in my mind since I was a child. But there is no way you can do this kind of work in Egypt. You cannot. Because it will contradict with the religion. So it was like still is hidden inside of me. So when I went to England, it was actually the best place for me to do what I want. So I started again from the beginning. And I did all the different stages of psychology, this and the other.
It's a very funny story, how you got accepted to study without knowing proper English.
It was one of the most. I actually had a lot of problem in actually learning. I have dyslexia. Very severe. Not even what you think. I cannot write. Until today, I make a lot of mistakes when I write, and I had a lot of trouble at school. And actually, told my parents, it's better that he doesn't come to school anymore. But I was so determined not to fail. So I used to study about 10 hours a day and barely, just about managed to get through. But I went to art college and I came one of the top because it doesn't require any conceptual, it gave me a lot of confidence actually. But when I went to England, I wanted to live what I wanted to do. So I went to apply to university, and somehow by mistake I got through the interview. But it was very difficult these days. The people used to study psychology these days. They were always English middle class people, speak very well. And an accident happened in an interview, and I just got through somehow. I actually remember they asked me a question. Can we ever create, that was almost 40 years ago or something, and a person to like a machine to function like a human being? And I said no. And they asked me why, and I said something, I don't know what I said, and I must have said a word I read somewhere, and they all looked at each other like if I know something. Well, I didn't know what I was talking about, but I got through. But then when I started and wrote something, they discovered that I'm almost illiterate. So they brought me back and they told me, actually, you have to leave because your standard is so low, and this is very complex. It's a big university, and And I innocently, I said, I really want to do this. And there was a person in an interview, a woman, like a professor of language. She looked at me and she said, she told him, I will help him. And she sat with me for a year, every week, for free. She volunteered. And without giving more details, I started this course with maybe 100 people. Now, years later, I was ahead of all of them. And I even invited to the university to teach in the end. And I achieved something that in all these years, only 2 people achieved. But a great determination.
Yeah, but does great determination come from the passion or the love or the why that you have to do this particular thing?
Oh, the answer is very simple. And I talk about this in the seminars a lot. You talked about values a bit. If you have a value that's very important to you, the whole world will not stop you. Impossible. And no matter how much you fail, it will not stop. But the tragedy in life now, everybody is doing something not in line with their own values. Why? Because their ego comes in the way. For example, if my value to be a cook, yes, and my ego wants to be a film star, I will destroy everything. I will try to be film star. I will struggle. I might get close, yes, but I will never be good. But I will do something. But if I go and be a cook, I will be the most famous cook in the world.
I visit a lot of high schools because I believe that high schoolers between 8th and 12th grade, this is how the system in Bulgaria works. They're 1st to 12th grade, and their high school is between 8th and 12th.
Yeah.
And they usually ask me, how can I become popular? And how can I make like a lot of fans and have a lot of money? And I ask them, why is this important to you? And they rarely dig deeper into, I want to be famous and I want to have money.
Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be. You see, money is not a value at all. If I want to be rich, it's not a value. When you do your value, the money will come because you'll be good anyway. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You see, and I was an actor also before. I've done many things, but everybody is trying so hard to be successful. But can you look at success in a different way? Yes. Why do I want to be successful? There's a big question.
I have an answer for myself.
What is your answer?
My answer is because I want to help others.
Well,
I value.
Okay, but why do you want to help others?
Because I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel better, to succeed in their life in ways.
And if they succeed or not, will it make difference to you?
It makes difference to me.
You will feel better, yes?
I feel amazing when people succeed. When I actually describe feeling successful for my podcast with the messages that I receive from people that are thankful or they share, for example, that they are now studying abroad, like students really developing their life and feeling happy with what they do.
I think it's great. How about if I tell you people can feel better just by seeing you without the podcast?
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel it.
The podcast will come second. You first.
I consider the podcast to be like a rocket ship. Something that takes me out up so high that more people can hear who I am and what do I do.
Yeah, but see, you're number one, the podcast is number two. If you know what I mean. I'm not saying this is not important at all, because people listen to this, they will get something.
People stop me on the street and say, I feel like I'm talking to a friend we've never met.
Yes. You see, the podcast came to you as the vehicle, as you said, for you to live your value. Because once you connect your value, everything will become available to you. Like the essence courses is spread to maybe 70 places in the world without planning, without actually even a desire as well. It came by itself, one after the other, everywhere, without me say, I have to go there. You see? So this area is very critical, very critical. And the West is dominated by the desire to succeed.
I just have a story to illustrate it. I received this on an iPad from my credit card, like a game. I've won only once in my life.
Okay.
This was 2015. I got a phone call from a person saying, "Hey, you've won your credit card like raffle, and this is your gift." And I went there to take it, and I was thinking of selling it. But this thing came to my life because the week before that, I gifted my old laptop to my mother. Opened space for it. It arrived, and this podcast would have never happened if I didn't have the iPad.
Wow, my God.
That started everything, and it's still working, and it's being used for me hosting events and doing everything that I do outside of the podcast as things that came as a byproduct from doing the podcast. And I've never dreamt about taking part of commercial, being in a movie, visiting regularly national media, being invited to talk about success and what I believe, which would be the personal example, is the thing that changes the world, like be the change that you want to see in the world. And this is just not giving up. As I said, persistence is an art of success.
Yes.
And I love this quote from the interview that you had with Max.
But can I add something about persistence?
Of course.
Because this is one of the problems we will have in this podcast is people will hear something and you'll go and apply it. It is true, persistent art of success, perfect, but you cannot be persistent in an area that is not any value. This is what the problem is. Because people can take the sentence and say, okay, I'll be persistent in everything and I will succeed. They will, but they will not reach the peace in their heart when they do it. You see, you can only be persistent in an area that is who you are. The value is you. That's you as a person. So basically, you're looking for yourself.
When I visit high schoolers and all type of kids that are in school, because I give free speeches around Bulgaria, everywhere.
Very good.
Everywhere that I'm invited, I go there and I have four main things to talk about. First one is self-observation, knowing thyself. So asking, what am I good at? What do I love doing? What happens to me as if I have a talent for it? What is this thing that others see in me that I can do?
Perfect.
That they say, how are you doing this? You're very good at this. And then it comes from me without even thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was a kid, probably 5-6 years old, my grandmother was, oh, today you made another friend in the bus going to your English languages and to your courses. And I was traveling in the train long distances and meeting people there. I don't even remember a moment in my life when I was a kid when I felt lonely. I've always managed to find friends everywhere. And when I started doing the podcast, this realization came to my mind. I was like, why did I wait for 30 years to do this? It was in me all along. And this is something that I emphasize on kids. Look, what's the inner fire burning about? Yeah. And ask them, what do you want to do? I want to be a veterinarian. Why? Because I love animals. Okay, this is great. keep digging, because other kids don't know. They don't even think about this. Second thing that I say is courage, like to try things, because one way of finding what is yours is finding what is not yours.
Yes.
For me, I've done so many things as well. I did programming. I did being a fitness trainer, personal trainer. And I did so many things, and sports and everything. I did so many relationships before I found my relationship. And sometimes, just like Nike's slogan, just do it, try it. And then the third one is the shortcut towards success. It's environment. People that are like you, that want to achieve, just like you want to achieve different things. They're ambitious. They have values. They have the things that you need to have in your life. Why would you surround with people that don't have the life that you want to have? It doesn't make sense. My friends are people with great families and great relationships between them, and very respectful people. And then the fourth one would be this belief that you're special, like you're unique, one of a kind. No one is like you, and this means that you can achieve anything that you want.
Yeah.
And these are the four things that I just share in free way, pinpointing different people that been on my podcast.
Oh, very good.
And kids, I think that kids understand it. I feel like I'm spreading seeds.
Wonderful.
Whenever they tend to grow up, it's not up to me. I just share stories. And this is what I do. And I'm very happy that we're going through this. You are the value. The value is you.
It's you. I do relationship courses and things, and I discover something in relationships. People don't respect their partner's values. And when I just told you, you are your value, that means you don't respect the partner. And this is one of the key, the biggest reason relationships break.
If I can refer to a book that it's been gifted to me by Neda.
Yeah.
And there says, the author says, understood before being understood.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So you need to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
And it sounds easy.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's difficult because your value, for example, the example, actually we have very similar value, but I'm saying your value contradict with mine, for example. And it's impossible for me to understand why this is important for you.
Yes.
And this is now where all relationships fail. And you can see that your partner wants to do something for you, it's mad. But for them, it's not.
Most of the people say that relationships are built on compromise. I hate the word compromise. I never use it. When something is important to Neda, I tend to ask questions to understand or to get a glimpse of why is this important to her and why is this the way she wants it done. Or now we are co-parenting. We are parenting.
Yes, yeah, but see, when it comes to children, this is the biggest area of conflict. Because each partner will have certain values for the child.
Yeah.
And my values come from another world to my partner's value. I had a situation when I was married. I have a value about education. And when my children finished school, automatically I thought, say, my daughter will go to university. And then her mother told her, go and find a job. And it was a crime. I committed a crime and her mother committed a crime, according to each other. But we forgot something important, the most important. What is my daughter's value? We are fighting our values, yes, to impose on her. It is her value at the end that needs to be acknowledged, not ours.
I love this Khalil Gibran story about children.
Yes.
That we as parents are the bow.
Yes, and yes, it's beautiful, beautiful.
So beautiful. I mean, me having difficulties with my father, probably one of the biggest motivations for me as a father is not to be like him. And this is so hard because I see myself in situations where I act like him and she's still a baby and I don't know what's going to happen when she becomes a teenager.
Here's a very big one. And your desire not to be like him, it will make you like him. This is awful. I don't like anybody to tell me this.
I know.
It is like when you find something, it gets you.
Yeah, I have this awareness.
Yes, I'm sure you know, but otherwise I probably wouldn't tell you if you don't have it. This is the same as freedom, like everything else in life. If you fight for it or against, you're caught by it. Like this is the early Buddhist teachings when they say your life is controlled by two things: what you want and what you don't want.
The problem of people nowadays that I see is that they know what they don't want, but they don't do anything about knowing what they want.
Yes, yes.
Прекъсвам подкаста, за да ви поканя на едно специално събитие. Между 8 и 10 ноември в София ще се проведе едно събитие, което има за цел да обедини предприемачи, инвеститори и останалите строители на тази екосистема у нас. Ако си в началото на своя предприемачески път и се чудиш как да започнеш, или вече си създал нещо, но търсиш съосновател или инвеститор, или пък имаш работещ бизнес, но имаш нужда от помощ за маркетинга, продажбите или излизането на чужд пазар, това събитие е за теб. То се казва Стартъп България. Запиши се на startupbulgaria.eu. Ще се видим там. Getting myself prepared for the interview, and I heard another story about your first seminar, which you held without even being comfortable in speaking in English.
Yes.
When did this happen, and how did it make you feel, and what did you do to keep getting better? And now, years later.
You see, this question is so big. I try to find some as much as possible. It's very connected to the subject of values. I can articulate things more than before because I was doing everything spontaneously. If you do something that's in line with your value and you fail, you will not feel failure at all. If you criticize, it will affect you, but it will not knock you down. Not only, you will never actually complain about why you failed. You never even blame anybody. An instant happened to me because I had struggled a lot in the beginning because you see, I was doing these seminars in front of English people. My language wasn't great, and then when you see somebody doesn't speak very well, you might assume they're not smart enough. Yes, and I was making mistakes, and even with my dyslexia was coming in the way I'm speaking. Even one seminar, somebody told me, "Please, why didn't you go and learn English before you continue doing this?" But the incident that happened to me was I was actually bringing people to give talks first in London, and I was introducing them. Yes,
you were the host.
Like the host. Very easy. 5 minutes, I can survive that. You see, and they were Americans, and they were very articulate and very impressive. And some of the talks was about recruiting people for courses, for seminars. Yeah. And then when they finish, the people sign up for the courses. That was years ago. Seminars were not popular then. And they were very good. But one day, one of the people who come in to give the talk, the day before the talk, had an emergency that he had to go back to America. And it was about 300 people coming. And there's no time. We paid for the hotel, everything. And then everybody around me said, Menis, why just you don't do it? You've been introducing people for a long time. So I stood up and I did what they do, yes? Nobody understood anything. But it was the highest number of results we ever got for years. And I couldn't understand what's happening. And people paid for the courses, and some of them said, we didn't understand anything, but we felt something that we wanted to come, even though we didn't understand. Then I realized even your value will stand anything. And the second instant was, I things were getting very difficult for me, and I called a friend of mine, and I told my friend, can you please help me? It's getting harder and harder and harder. Why I keep going there again? Because I couldn't stop it. It's like somebody taking cocaine or something that's destroying their life, but they keep going. And she said something to me by complete accident in a conversation. She said, the reason you keep going there is because you know you can. That was it. And everything started to flow because I realized there is something even bigger than me that will not be knocked down by anybody. But I didn't know that. What I said now is a very difficult statement, because this is what they do in motivational seminars, to make people do what they cannot do. Do you see what I mean? We must not make somebody do what they cannot do. We need to make people do what they are. And all the motivation work is damaging to people because they give them the idea they can do anything. It is true you can do anything, but it's not true that you do something that's not you. That has been my beginning, and in my journey when I was trying very hard to be like other people, it was not working. When I just was me, it started to flow and expanded all over the world without any effort. Actually, there was normal effort like arranging things, booking something. This is how the whole thing started actually. You know, it's the same as love. You look for a relationship all your life. You struggle and struggle, but the best relationships come without you planning, thinking, preparing, and convincing your partner to love you. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, I love the quote. Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. It actually refers to this. And but these cliches, they're starting to become like a turn off for so many people. It's like, oh, what does it mean to be yourself? It actually means to value you and to look for you inside, not what others expect from you. Am I correct?
Absolutely. You know, this is where the parents fall always, because as I said before, most parents want the children to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And you will have a child with doing something very strange and turn out to be wonderful later in life. You know?
I guess the ego gets on the way because parents need their kids to be like representation of how good of a parent they actually are.
Yeah, you see, there's a statement behind this. I always say it in the seminars. I say to parents, don't measure your self-worth by how your children are. Actually, because I want my children to be good for me. So people can think I am good. Of course I love them, I want a good future, but also this part is there that we're in denial about. Like you go to parties and somebody say, oh, my son speaks 3 languages. He's doing this, he's going there, he's going there. What does that mean? That means I'm good. That means I will force them to do something maybe they don't like. So the one thing I have noticed is amazing. You have 2 kids, for example, and you, for example, obsessed by playing the piano. So you send them both for piano lessons. One actually like it, other one doesn't like it. Yeah. What's going to happen? The one who doesn't like it will learn it in so much pain and will compete, because once you start competing, it's not your value. You see?
Yeah,
You don't compete because you know who you are.
It's the story of Andre Agassi, isn't it?
Yes, actually, I realized that later. Then you're going to set up a culture of competition and fighting to be who's going to be better. And I finally realized after many years, if it's your value, you don't compete at all because it's you. There is no measure.
I have no one to compete to.
No, it's you. How can you compete you with another? But then there's a lack of the parents who want the best for the children. Yes, it is not love.
Yeah,
it's not at all. But this is the way they learn how to love.
I think that this comes from their parents because they are doing the same models again.
Yes,
because being in their children's shoes at the moment, before with their own parents, they think that being very strict and imposing your own will on your kid means I love you, but it actually
and there is more. Yes, absolutely, there is more.
My father said that he didn't love me. He didn't say that he didn't love me, but he was so strict and so he was using such words that were hurting me. And in my inner drive was like, I'm going to show him that I'm not like this. It's just, I'm going to rub his nose that...
He set up resistance.
Yes.
And you, of course, you start now resisting his power. But I've noticed something in me that shocked me. When I am so strong with my children, it was a revenge. That I'm finally a very powerful person, but exerting my power on a weak people. And I had this sense of like nobody can humiliate me anymore. I am in charge. And when I realized it hit me so bad, that I am not under anybody's mercy. This, I didn't see this in any books. I felt it in my soul. And because a couple of times when I was very strict with my children, I felt very powerful. And I asked myself, where is this? I had this sense of being important. Or really, because I've always been under. Second. Somebody dominated me, somebody humiliated me, but now in
charge.
Yes. And
one of the great things, you're also doing seminars for teenagers here in Bulgaria.
Yes.
But before going to that, I just want to ask you to remember, when did you start doing seminars in Bulgaria, and why, and how did it happen that you are here and you've been doing this for so long?
I came to Bulgaria more than 20 years ago. Everything that happened to my life happened by accident. But there is no accident at the same time. There isn't. And I think this accident happened because you happen to be at the right place at the right time. But I always say that you need to be the right person at the right place at the right time. I actually was going to Russia to do a course in Siberia. Yes. And I was doing courses there a lot. And after a while, I started to see something is not quite right. And I was working for a company that functioned in Sofia. They do courses also. And they had a course planned. And I had decided not to go to Russia anymore because I saw something is not right about being there. The date of that seminar to go into Russia was exactly the same date for the seminar that was happening in Sofia. But 5 people or 4 people were coming, one after the other dropped out. They couldn't come
to Sofia.
That course I was doing here, it was not Essence, it was something else. Yeah, and the coincidence of coming, the chances are very, very low, extremely low, because had I gone to Russia, or these 5 people, one after the other dropped out, and they couldn't find anybody. And a friend of mine was talking to some people in conversation. Said, yeah, but there is someone called Menis somewhere. Why don't you ask him to come? So I came at just once and not to come back again. And I came, and then I started my work from here after that, from that first instant. And I never knew much about Bulgaria, nothing. And from this moment, every country in the world started the same way, with a very strange coincidence that it was impossible that to happen. And even the way the course started in Romania was even more of a coincidence than this. Like it just, the chances would have been 0. But then I looked at how come it's going like this. It's because this is what my value need to be expressed, and it will find its own way, as you probably know about this.
Yeah, I have a couple of principles in the podcast. Everything happens at its own time, so I never push things.
Yeah.
You know, last time you were in Bulgaria, we were planning to do the conversation, but things happen and we couldn't do it.
Yes.
And I believe that when such delays happen, it is for the good.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And people come in the right times, and then this allows me not to feel any stress. I hate stress. I value calmness and this feeling of everything is having its own pace. No need to hurry it up. Even my motto became a quote that I've learned from Tim Ferriss, which says, no hurry, no pause. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And the studio, the sound acoustics by Decibel, the technical support by Dynafos. I sent an email to the owner of Dynafos saying, hey, I'm having this podcast, it's audio, but I want to get it on video. And the person that gave me his email told me, listen, we don't do cooperations, we don't do partnerships. And I was like, I don't mind, I just want to send my email. 20 minutes later, I get a response. Hey, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I come to my office and let's have a talk. And all these things happened.
I think nothing in this life can be forced. It's true, we have to do something, of course, because you can't just sit there, nothing. But you do what you do and let it take its own course. But we have to do something. So people don't get it literal and say, okay, I will just wait and everything's going to happen. You see, I put so much energy and work in acquiring the knowledge and the information and the learning and the experiences. But when I did all this, I didn't have in mind to do the seminars. You see, that was not...
They came into existence, right?
Because these things have, this is very important to understand. They have grown inside of me in such a way that it had to be expressed. And the vehicle for the expression has appeared. You see? So now what it means, all you need to do in life is to develop yourself. Only you. You don't go and run to create something out there that's not created in you first. And the environment and the outside of you will take it to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And this is the most misunderstood thing in the world, because people go and fight for achievement and motivation and being rich, and they're torturing themselves. And maybe some would, the very strong people will achieve it, but if you achieve it this way, you know what's going to happen. You have to keep it up. You understand?
Yeah.
But if you are this, you don't have to keep it up anymore, because it's function by its own. So you can see from pop stars, yes? Some pop stars lasted for years.
Madonna.
Yeah, nothing happened to them, but the new one who come with a hit, and then they fall because it is not in their soul. There's not, but there are few groups, 4 or 5 groups have lasted. They are in the 70s and still singing because they don't need to fight to create it. They are their own creation. Yeah. So I would not recommend to anybody to go and fight to be something.
I'm going to rephrase it in a bit just to make sure I understood correctly. I read it in Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game.
Yes.
So when you play the infinite game, it is something that is there to last. You're doing things that you want to do until the rest of your life.
Yes.
So you don't do things to achieve success right now or in 1 year or in 1 month.
Yeah.
You just do it because for the sake of doing it. And then every next iteration, every next step, every next action piles up on this possible success.
The perfect. The money is a big factor here because if I am motivated by money, yes, it's going to be a very big problem. I will get the money, yes, but then what? The joy is not in the money, in actually what you are actually doing. Because you can do it with less, yes, but you have the joy. The money will not give you that joy. It will make life easier, of course, but it's not going to give you that satisfaction that you have. My challenge has been in my work for years in the past is I travel and worked everywhere, and people around me organizing things and stuff. Sometimes they fighting about money, this and the other, and I never pay attention to this. I never. It cost me, of course, mistakes and money and loss here and there. But I'd say something very strange. People will think I am mad. People around me thought I was stupid, and I don't understand anything.
Or
they
naive.
Didn't know, or naive. They didn't know that I didn't care. And doing my work, yes, is the best payment I ever get. They misunderstood what I'm doing. So I was like a singer, you see. And then they start playing with things and fighting and stealing and here and there. And then after all these years, they all fallen apart, but I didn't. Because they had to end up, you see, in a trap they set themselves up. They didn't realize I was sustaining myself in what I'm doing.
When I started the podcast, probably a couple of episodes later, some friend said, monetize it, go for sponsorships, write books, write courses. Like, guys, it's going to monetize it by itself. Everyone was like, are you crazy? Nothing monetizes by itself. 3 years later, I got a phone call. Hey, Georgi would like to support your project. Then another one, then another one.
Yeah.
So it actually is the business model of self-monetization.
Yeah.
If it is valuable, people are going to appreciate it.
I don't. This is again another problem I have. Now we live in a time without marketing, you fail. But I still don't believe in marketing. It's a very naive of me because when we're living now, if you don't make yourself known, like for example, someone is failing because of podcast things like this. But I still have this limiting belief, let's say, that a good product doesn't need marketing. But see, this belief will not stand the pressure of the bombardment of the capitalist and the fighting to be the best. You probably die in the middle of all these forces. But still, if something is very good, it will appear. It has to. You see?
I guess this is how you get through 20 years of making seminars here, in essence.
Yes, and it's even getting bigger and bigger. And for example, when I started, I was actually the biggest one in Bulgaria. But when I came here, there was no seminars. I was like the father of the seminars. I brought many things to Bulgaria, the constellations and many things they never know before. But I brought these things and I moved on. I don't do them anymore. You see? And then they have become part of the constitution of people. People find something and stay with it.
Yeah.
I have never stayed with anything. I keep moving. You see? Because I have this motto in my mind. Revolution is only good the first day. And after the first day, people who start a revolution become like the people who rebelled against. So we have the only consistency in the world is change. Change is the only thing that doesn't change. You see,
it's for certain.
Yeah. So we are in change every day. You know, we are getting older every second. We cannot be in one place. So we have to keep moving. But the change happen, yes. But inside of you, you have something very special that will move with the change itself.
It's like being reborn every day. Do you want to be a better person in next day when you're born or not?
Yeah. I think with every breath, we are changing. And many people talk about this in biology, that all the cells in your body after a few years are not the same. You're actually not the same person.
Renewing.
Biologically, not
yeah. So 20 years ago you started doing the seminars here. In 2024 you have the anniversary of doing this. You also do events for teenagers.
Yes.
Can you do just a bit about like the kids and teenagers? They're in a very special time, being teens.
It's more useful to teach children at school about relationships, parenting, how parents earn the money. I saw on internet something by accident that touched me so deeply. In China, in the classroom, they made the films from what happens to parents when they go to work, especially parents who work in very hard jobs. So the children were sitting there looking how much the parents work hard to bring money home. And you know, all the kids were crying in the classroom because they never expected. They thought life is so easy and they will give me money and I do what I want. So this is one of the most important things that we need to teach children at school about life, about relationships, how to be with somebody, what is it to be human, and what are you doing here in this life, and what the parents wanted, and how can you relate to your parents. If you do this at such age, we will not need to do any work now. Life will be very different than now. The people who come to the seminar as adults, majority of them come when things go wrong. It's better to do it before things go wrong. It will be easier. That's the kind of I think that to do the seminars for young people, maybe it will be the only work in the future. Maybe.
That's why I'm going back to high school to talk to kids about the good examples. Yeah. Because this is where you reap the biggest rewards. They are courageous. They see a path in their lives. I didn't have it. I didn't have it in 11th grade, 12th grade when I finished. I didn't know what I'm going to do with my life. Starting the podcast at 30, I realized I've wasted 10 years of my life after high school. And why didn't I start the podcast 10 years earlier? Because I was not ready.
Have you ever made the podcast with teenagers?
Yeah. I had a couple of episodes with teenagers. I have 3 or 4 examples. One of them has crossed the Atlantic Ocean rowing with his father. He has 2 Guinness World Records in rowing. The second one was one of the brightest biological students in Bulgaria. He went to Trinity College in Oxford. And the third one was a person that went to Harvard to study AI and engineering.
Oh, amazing.
And the last one was someone that stopped studying after high school, just like your daughter, like you did the example. I don't know if she continued studying, but
she did.
He decided to work on his high school entrepreneurship project, which is called ICE Pro. It's an ice cream that has protein in it and low sugars. It's a fitness.
Where is it?
Food.
Can I have one?
Yeah, it's very big now.
Really?
Yeah, he has investments and he's really all in on his entrepreneurial project, and he has these struggles with his parents. His mother does not appreciate that he does not study high school. He doesn't get a university diploma. He doesn't care. He knows that this is what he wants to do. And all of them are so different, just like other successful people. Everyone is so different from one another. And here I want to ask you just for a couple of recommendations of books, because books are very important for the listeners. We do these recommendations every episode. So would you recommend anything to read in any topic? It can be related to what we've just said or anything else that...
You actually asked me that question before the podcast. And you asked me to come and recommend some books. I tell you the best book to read. No books.
No books is the best book to read.
It's better not to read anything.
Why do you think so?
At all. I tell you why. Books are borrowed knowledge. Not real. And I've been trying to write a book for 10 years. Yes, I have books written before. And the best book I wrote came from a podcast. It was not written. It was just a conversation like this. It won the best book ever in Romania, actually. But when I'm writing a book, yes, I'm writing what I believe is true. And the truth doesn't belong to anybody except one person. You only. So actually, the books can be some kind of a brainwashing and become like I don't misunderstand me. I'm not against religion. It become a new religion, as metaphor.
Yeah, I get
and
it.
People read the books. Yes,
it's self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yes. Have you ever read a book about illness or diseases and you start thinking you have that? Like symptoms, I have that. I have this and this and this. So when people read books, yes, they start believing somebody else's dream or somebody's idea. You see, and they can actually be a problem for us. Yeah. So when going back to the book I've been writing, because I am doing this work all the time, I'm working with non-stop for years. So I'm almost my whole mind, my whole body is consumed by this work. After a few weeks, I realized what I wrote was not correct. So I changed it and changed it. I have been changing this book for years. And now I realize this book will be read after I die, actually, because it's in constant change. And something I started to look at in the beginning, I was so convinced it's true. But as I moved on a bit, because success it is very important. I never said this before. Failure after failure after failure after. This is what success is. So I realized I was failing and failing and failing because what I was saying, actually, it is not true. You see, it was true then, but I have moved on a bit. So all these books you see, is there a danger for people to believe them?
Yeah,
I know it's so difficult.
I consider this the book as a tool. It gives you a perspective of the author that you can adapt in a way for yourself. And for me, it's like going for mushrooms in the woods.
Yeah.
Some of the mushrooms are not for you, but some you're like, I'm going to take a part of this one, use it in my next project or things like this. Be picky. Just read something, not with the idea that it's true, but the idea is it might give you something that you're looking for, and it can help you.
It can, if you can see it this way. You know that I have been always accused of watching crime stories and on television, and people close to me surprised why I watch this, and then I realize the reason. The reason is they are the only true stories.
The crime stories.
The only truth to everything is made up. The real crime. This is actually what happened. Everything else, every film is made up by somebody. It's not true. It's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this fantasy is good for that person, but it's not good for me. Like, I think this is the most difficult thing I have found in my life, that the truth cannot be sold. It cannot be communicated. Impossible.
Yeah.
It has to be, it is who I am and nobody else.
Yeah, truth is personal.
Yes. So I can, for that reason, I would not recommend any books. I apologize.
Yeah, no. This is it's a viewpoint. I say that the podcast is sharing the viewpoints and experiences and beliefs of people that I think that are leading by a good example, and there needs to be a balance in everything.
Yeah, I read books in the past years ago, and then I had a big library at home. And then recently, I took some of these old books and looked, and I couldn't believe that I believed these things then, but they're not true now.
Yeah, sometimes I say that it's really the context matters, and sometimes we judge without having context. We're quick to judge.
Yes.
And sometimes the context is outdated.
Yes.
So we're too slow to judge.
There is something else. Sorry, I don't know if it's connected to what you're saying or not. You will never understand anything if you don't have it from before. Do you know what I mean by this? Like,
if you didn't have it in you.
Yeah, you can say it this way, but there is more. Like, it's like your perception of life or your experience will match your awareness, will match your system.
Tony Robbins has a saying, the stories that we tell ourselves. Is it the same thing?
No, not exactly. It's like when I do seminars, yes, and I speak, I'm very perceptive to people because of the exposure I had. I know who understands, who doesn't. And a person who understands has already the awareness from before, because it matches their system. And a person doesn't understand will never understand it, because it has no what is the word? Reference point and no receptors. It has no place to go. It will come if they are developing themselves, when they get bigger and bigger. So now you can. Here is the best example for you. There are books full of absolutely everything you want. How come we have not learned yet? Because you will only read what you know. This is
the master and the student.
Yes, you will read only what you know. So actually, do you really need to read it or find out for yourself? This is a difficult one because.
Thank you. Thank you also to StorPool Storage, who are supporting us with our podcast, and we have a register with all the books that have been recommended for these 400 episodes. An amazing company that helps us a lot to do this quality content. Also, next question would be, sometimes people find you through the website of Essence Foundation. What do you think in these technological times is the website? What's the use of the website of an organization like yours and the seminars that you're giving?
Yeah, actually, it's a good point, because again, I didn't believe in any of these things before, but I think are really, really important at this time. People need to know, and how else they're going to know. And actually, many people come to the courses and they actually found a website by accident. I look at the website like a shop open 24 hours a day. It doesn't close because you can open, you can go anytime. And I think the value of the website is in the middle of the night. Anytime you can search and you can find. I think what's the most amazing invention, actually. And maybe it will be changing to something better or worse, I don't know. But at this stage, I think it's the most valuable tool for anybody that has a business, actually, and very, very powerful. And again, it has to be really good, updated, and clear for people to understand, and have at least enough information for people to find out about you. Really,
that's a great point of the purpose that we with SuperHosting.BG, the hosting providers of my website, are trying to support others that wants to be present online with their businesses, with their companies. So thank you, SuperHosting.BG, for supporting the podcast and my own website for the last 6 years. Next question is regards to communities. I know Essence in itself is a community of people that visit the process, support it by being like captains and support volunteers. But are you taking part of any community of people that are developing themselves like personally or professionally, like organization or something?
Can you clarify a little bit?
Yeah, the question is, are you part of any communities that are supporting each other, like mastermind groups or communities with like-minded people? Yeah. Or I'll just rephrase the question. What is the value of putting yourself in a community of people that are looking for the same things as you?
Yeah, okay.
Professionally and personally.
I always say this. It will half answer your question. You must seek the company of people who are looking for the truth, but keep away from the people who found the truth. So it's better to be with people who move in the same direction, but keep away from somebody who say, I found it, because it cannot be found. And it could be more than you think. So my let's say my belief, I don't like that word, but I'll use it. My belief is about any work we do is to develop yourself only. But when the people are doing the same, you can go faster. This is kind of related to the question, because I have noticed even in if somebody emotional and meet somebody else is emotional, you're not going to be 2, they'll be 3. You know what I mean? Like it will enhance. Would be like they say the sum is better than the individual. So the energy will be stronger.
Yeah.
The only thing goes wrong if somebody came and said, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
I think it can go wrong.
The prophet,
or they say, I found it. And this is where all organizations fall. Not fall, they kind of...
Yeah, because it's unlimited like journey. It's like a never-ending process.
You put a label on something, it'll stop.
Yeah, earlier you were saying that the change is imminent. It's like the only thing that's constant in the world.
Yeah,
so
it's change.
If you found the truth, okay, you found it, but tomorrow it will be...
If you found it, you'll stop. The mystery of life is not to find the answer.
Yeah.
I use this funny example. It's like going to a football match and you know the results already. Yeah, you'll enjoy a little bit, but you know what's going to happen. But if we don't have a mystery, we will not progress. I don't think. If things don't go wrong, and we keep coming back with others, and this is how I really think we will never ever find the mystery of life. I hope we don't.
Yeah, for me, it's also a never-ending journey. It's like happiness.
Yes.
Are you happy? Yeah, today you might be, but you need to keep working on it.
Yeah, yes.
Because tomorrow, different circumstances, different weather, different...
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you very much, Menis. I think you answered perfectly on the question. I just need to highlight it. You said that it's important to be surrounded with people that are looking for the truth.
Yes. It will really energize you, and also will if one day your confidence is low or you doubt yourself, you have support.
Yeah.
And I think you know what the word community means. Actually, it means giving and receiving. Actually, I think this is what it means. And I think the situation that we're suffering from now in the world is that the communities are falling apart, and people have become very individuals, and everybody wants to achieve something and
not to give. Yeah. Thank you. Hack Bulgaria are the people that are creating a small community for IT professionals, giving support, experience, and knowledge, and helping each other out like a proper community. This is led by our friends from Hacksoft. You can learn a bit more on hackbulgaria.com. It's currently it's in Bulgaria, but I guess there will be a lot of English speakers as well. Thank you, Hacksoft, for supporting the podcast. And last question from my sponsors is from Yotpo. They're a very big organization, like a unicorn organization, with a market capitalization over 1.4 billion.
Wow.
But they describe themselves as flamingos, which is great. Like I love this type of not egocentric, like unicorn. Like it's like something that's guaranteed, especially in the startups and scale-ups. So they are they're working in e-commerce, and they're helping other companies spread products that are around the world. What do you think the biggest problem of people that are trading goods worldwide in terms of mindset is? Because I see a lot of Bulgarians that are only going for Bulgarian market. I guess same thing goes for other people from other countries. But why are people afraid to go global and compete? Like now it's possible. It's not like 30 years ago or without the internet, when people are only buying from shops. You said our website is 24/7 open, but it's also worldwide open.
Yes. So you're asking why people are afraid to...
Yeah, what are the limiting beliefs of people that are developing such businesses in small markets, small countries, to compete with the others? I mean, I know that you have a lot of entrepreneurs that you talk to in seminars.
Yes. I'm not able to grasp a question, but let me see what I understand.
Something that might be helpful for people that want to compete, like in the world with their businesses.
Well, I think maybe I came close to this question before. A good product will compete by itself.
That's a great reminder from a previous part of the conversation. Good product, and for me also good execution.
Good product maybe doesn't need. It's like if you like something and you know it's working, you can go to the end of the world to find it. But if something is not so good, and no matter how much you compete, you will. So I don't want to discount the exposure and website and everything, but you have to have something
substantial.
Not only, actually, there's more to it than that. Yes, of course. Is the product you are doing also serve humanity or not? This is another factor. Is it in line with your value? I have you ever been to a restaurant, like two restaurants next to each other, and one full of people, another one is empty?
Yeah.
Have you seen? What is the difference? What do you think the difference is?
For me personally, is the customer service, the way that people are treated in one of the restaurants.
I was actually once in Burgas or Varna, and there was a big, beautiful restaurant, and there's nobody there, and another one is very busy. And I was thinking about this, and I realized, I wonder if the person who cooks, this is his value, his energy is going to the food and going everything around him or her, and create some. I really think when you true to you, there's an energy around you. will expand, and people will smell it. And if you try to make people smell it, they will not. They will not. That's, I think, this is related to the, and what you do, it has, let's go to the restaurant. If the owner of the restaurant want to make money only, it's not as good if the person really likes the food, like the people enjoy the food, like even healthy. So there is another level of that. The bigger goal for humanity is in your work as well. And this is something I think I started to feel it over the years. People are doing something that will serve life. It has to succeed, because it has a very big purpose. Because this is what evolution is, I think.
Helping others.
Yes.
Yeah. Cannot disagree with this. My podcast is based on this concept entirely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yotpo, for supporting the podcast for more than 3 years now. Last question that is preset by me is give me an advice, like father to father, about raising a girl or raising a kid. Something that might be useful to me.
Okay. I say different things. You can ask me to add, or your relationship with your children is this: you do the best you can, and what they turn out to be is not in your control. Look at the challenge. Like, they will do something that is not in line with what you want, but our job is to do our part. And our part has 3-4 components: home, education, and food, and good environment. But whatever they decide to do after that is not in our hands whatsoever. We're doing it all wrong. We're just interfering in how they will be. And this is the biggest challenge for parents now, especially this generation, because the new generation don't want to do anything. Yes? And we have to let them. We are so worried. They grown up. They left home. We're still worried. Will they have a job? Will they succeed? Will they do it? Maybe they need to be roughed out a little bit. They need to have to go through different stages. This is one thing. But parents are panicking already, even when children are young. They keep thinking, they do this, they will be like this later. I do this still. Like, I have to be careful. It's better not to be careful. It's better to do what you're supposed to do. Like, you do the things I said, home, environment, and they will not be the same as we want.
It's guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Another thing, which is the biggest one, the best gift you give to your children is to work on yourself. Which is easy to say, but the hardest to do. Very simple reason. Your children you know what the children actually are? They are your unconscious expressing itself in front of your eyes. And I always say this to people: if you want to learn about you, watch your kids. You will see the things that you have already given it to them, but they are showing it to you. And they're doing something I just cannot accept about myself, or cannot acknowledge, negative and positive. Yeah? So they are actually doing it because they are the extension of my unconscious.
Mirrors.
They are us, actually.
Great.
They have the same movement, the way they like things. Yes.
It is, for me, success. Some people define success with having this legacy of kids.
Yes.
Therefore, I'm going to go into success. And I love these two examples. And I was just imagining my daughter. And yeah.
But I have a question for you, actually. If your child, daughter, whoever, fail everything in their life, would you love them the same?
Unconditionally.
Every parent needs to answer that question.
From the interview that I watched on Tavex's channel, there was one thing that I've picked so many quotes from it, but one thing that really is really important for me, and is something that you said that sounds like success requires effort.
Yes.
How do we make people or understand or raise their awareness that they cannot be successful if they're not searching for the truth or for the success or for this is a synonym, truth and success and everything else. Why are people waiting for something to happen to them and not putting themselves in a position where they can make mistakes, they can fail, but the one thing that you said, the number of failures leads to success. The piling up of failures on one another.
I will quote something, but I think many people say it in a different way. Hard life make good people, and easy life made bad people. Shall I explain it more?
Just a bit.
It's clear, okay. Bad sea makes good sailors. Yes. Now, you make life very easy for the children. Yes. They will not try anymore. It's as simple as that.
But this is going to reflect in their entire lives.
Yes. Yes. I can exaggerate something. This is the end of the Western civilization. But I'm exaggerating a bit.
Yeah, the last, because I want to be respectful of your time, Menis. It has
no
been
problem.
Pleasure talking to you. My last question would be, I'm aiming at making this place a better place, like socially and not only in any way, form or shape that I can. How can we make Bulgaria a place that is getting better and a place where there are happier people?
Your contribution to Bulgaria and to the world, yes, is to make yourself better.
Yeah.
Only you. Nobody else.
No, there are a lot of other people that are doing it, but how can we, I don't know, start from ourselves, or like in a way asking for other people to join me doing this? Yeah,
you see, it's the same as the values, same. When you live you 100%, you will vibrate in a certain way. That anybody come close you, they will smell it. But unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't want to be negative. Many people in the helping profession especially, yes, they're trying to do something to others that they don't have. You see? So they actually communicating to people something that they can be damaging people without realizing, but they mean well. They're not bad people, they mean well, and they want the place to be better. If you want to change the world, you are very naive. Yeah, but because how can I change the world if I am lacking? It's not possible. And so let's put it in a different context. Leaders should not be leaders because they win the elections. The fact a person fight and win many stages and become to the top, they should never be in that place. The leader should be chosen from the people. They will be chosen by, they're like a product, the good product. They will be sold by like Gandhi. Nobody chose Gandhi. Just he has become. You see, and these people are amongst us everywhere. You see, they're everywhere. And if you really, you move in the same direction, you improve yourself and you work in such a way that people will look for you by themselves. Of course, we talked about website and everything. People need to at least have some kind of exposure to who you are. You see, this is my. But I put this in my new book that the best contribution to make to life is to work on yourself.
Great.
And this is a contribution to make to your children and family and everybody. But you know, this statement is actually very difficult, extremely difficult, because that brings everything onto you.
There's the saying that God grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Yes.
the courage to change the ones that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
This has profoundly changed my life.
Yes, I can imagine.
Separating the things that I can change from the things that I have no influence over, like other people, their emotions, feelings, what they do.
Yeah. My biggest challenge in my life, and I'm still learning, whenever I have a challenge, I must look at me and say what I want, and don't go to other person's world and tell them you have this because of this, because of this, because of this. And this is so difficult to do. And if somebody hurt you, caused you a lot of damage, irritated you, the best thing to do is to go back to you. But who can do that? You know, if we do that, we'll have no wars in the world. We have nothing.
Thank you, Menis. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation.
You're welcome.
Dear all, I hope you had a good time together with me, Georgi Nenov, and Dr. Menis Yousry. Thank you for listening to this entire podcast in English, and now I'm going to be changing back to Bulgarian for just a sentence to thank my listeners and supporters from our own home country. Уважаеми приятели, това беше поредният епизод на Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов. Знаете, на сайта на фондация Същност може да разберете повече за обученията и семинарите, които те провеждат. Аз искрено ги препоръчвам. Наистина, преживяването към същността, първия семинар от тяхната поредица е нещо, което наистина изключително много ми повлия и се радвам, че съм днес тук, отчасти благодарение именно на това 4-дневно преживяване. Знаете, Свръхчовекът с Георги Ненов продължава да ви разказва истории, които вдъхновяват. Ще се видим още следващия вторник в любимата ви платформа за слушане и гледане на подкасти, защото имам още истории, които вдъхновяват за вас. Чао, чао!